Streaming games is no longer a novelty. Nowadays there are various applications where you can play titles remotely, from Xbox Cloud Gaming to GeForce Now. But 10 years ago, in 2015, playing a game on a screen detached from a PC or console was more complex and expensive. Valve's original Steam Link was the first attempt at bringing streaming gaming into the market. Today, this piece of hardware is remembered a bit of a failure that did not quite achieve the success hoped for. It did not fail horribly, but it was forgotten by the general public quickly, and it was discontinued after a few years. But as a proud owner and believer of the system, I do want to give credit to this machine 10 years after its release. The Steam Link did what it promised to do, to stream your PC games on another monitor and TV, something that I myself found quite useful. So in today's briefer video than usual, I want to talk about my experiences with the Steam Link when I bought it at launch, as well as some reflections regarding streaming gaming in general. But first things first, roll the intro. The best way to bring an image signal from one device, like a PC or console, into a screen, such as a monitor or TV, is to use an HDMI cable. There's nothing that works better than a good old dedicated signal cable to showcase the desired gameplay in a matter of milliseconds. In my current home setup, I have my PC relatively close to my TV. Hence, if I want to play my Steam games on the big screen, I can just plug a 5m HDMI cable and play without a hiccup. However, 10 years ago, when I used to live with my mother in Geneva, the shape of the house didn't quite let me do this, since my bedroom was opposite to the living room. There was no practical solution to play my PC games on the big screen, or at least there wasn't until I bought the Steam Link near launch. The back then newly released Steam Link offered me the opportunity to play my PC games remotely thanks to a powerful internet connection, something that luckily I had. I could explain in detail how this little machine worked, but I think by now you get the gist. It streamed your computer screen on the TV when both the Steam Link and the PC were connected to the same network. Virtually any controller can be connected directly to the Steam Link, both wired and wireless, to play any game the user has. In 2015, Steam just released different drivers to recognize all kinds of controllers, including some you probably did not expect. I swear, playing Just Cause 3 with a Wii U Pro controller is pretty cursed, but it worked like a charm. But jokes aside, I truly appreciate this feature because it allowed me to play with various different controllers I already own without the need to purchase more PC compatible or Steam made controllers. And connecting them was extremely easy, easier than configuring them manually. And do remember that the whole computer screen was streamed, meaning that apart from gaming you could do much more, provided you connected a mouse and keyboard to the small machine. This was quite handy for watching movies or playing music in the living room. But I know what you're all thinking, what about the latency? How was streaming gaming in 2015? The short answer is, it worked. The long answer, not perfectly. Despite having a fairly good internet connection back then, streaming a whole video game was still a novelty, thus input lag and grainy images were recurring issues. As you can imagine, when the internet was lower, the image quality would drop from a Full HD to what appeared to be a 480p. Still playable, but certainly not ideal. This would be a rare occurrence, but it still happened from session to session. Input lag on the other hand was more common, but also more tolerable. You see, while it was frustrating to see a few frames of difference between pressing a button and seeing the action take place, at a certain point you get used to it and internally started to learn how to play it. I even managed to perform QuickTime events with no problems. It just took 10 minutes or so to get used to it. A big reason why I did not face many problems when using the Steam Link 10 years ago when even streaming YouTube videos in HD was not granted is because the Steam Link would only stream devices connected to the same network. To put it simply, the device and the PC had to be in the same house. You couldn't stream your friend's PC via the internet. A limitation for sure, but one that guaranteed a stable connection. Also, I do remember facing occasional bugs when setting up, but mostly they were resolved by simply plugging and unplugging a Steam Link, since awkwardly enough, it does not have a power button. In fact, the design of this whole machine is quite minimalistic and small, quite handy for crowded tables. Still, despite these small issues, out of the thousands of hours I've played, I truly cannot complain. Many are the games I've played on this small machine and streamed on the big screen, from The Witcher 3 to Assassin's Creed Unity, and I always had a blast. Overall, the Steam Link did what it promised to do, letting me play my PC games on the TV from across the house. The reasons why it failed are various, but mainly the fact that it was substituted by software alternatives. Why buy this small machine when apps on your smart TV allow you to basically do the same for free? Even Steam 3 years later released a software solution called, well, Steam Link, that allow you to do the same thing without the need of this little box. Its failure was therefore inevitable. I even recalling it being sold during sales at $5, when at launch it was $50. But how is streaming gaming today, in the year 2025? Well, better, of course, but also different. You see, 10 years ago, many people like myself had the idea that streaming would be reserved to a use similar to the one the Steam Link did. Stream your PC or console in a different monitor or perhaps even your phone. That is, yes, possible, but most streaming services function differently. Rather than to stream a device you have onto a screen, these services run the game on a platform you do not possess and stream the output to you. This is quite convenient, since it allows the user to run games their PC could not normally run, and if you are streaming on a phone or a tablet, you do not even need a PC. The Steam Link was intended as a replacement for an HDMI cable, not as a replacement for the whole console. The downside to this new model, however, is that the servers are not cheap to run, thus these new services do have a cost, somewhere around 15 to 20 euros a month, while the new Steam Link app is free. Yes, the Nvidia GeForce Now app has a free version, but it is quite limited, allowing you to stream the games you have only for 1 hour at a time, followed by endless queues. Speaking of, most streaming platforms such as the Xbox Cloud Gaming, PlayStation Now and Amazon Luna actually do not stream games you own, but rather games you quote-unquote rent. Most services already have an inbuilt library of games free to pick up, but titles you do not keep once your subscription is over. Google Stadia had a more traditional model of purchasing games, but it didn't quite work in the long run. Personally, I'm not a big fan of this Game Pass model. I do like the fact of owning my games, even if digitally, in respectable stores like Steam and the eShop. However, I do concede that streaming fits well with this structure. Streaming 1,000 of games on whatever device you have connected to the internet is a nice selling point for most casual gamers. Still, going back to the OG, streaming in general has become quite accessible, and many are the steps made in the 10 years from when the original Steam Link machine launched. I believe we are not yet in the phase where a physical console will be replaced by an only streaming device, but one thing is for certain, a digital console will look more like an app rather than a Steam Link. Despite that, however, I think this small machine deserves some credit to kickstart what we now deem to be common, streaming video games. I may no longer use it, but man if I have good memories plugging this old black box to my TV back home. The Steam Link failed, but in my opinion, it did it with grace and admiration. The Steam Link was not Valve's greatest success, perhaps not a colossal flop, but it's still an underwhelming device that quickly became obsolete. Having said that, however, the Steam Link was a pioneer for what soon became more common, streaming gaming, and it does deserve some credit for that. The alternative services we have now are fine, and do make this old small box redundant, but not gonna lie, I do miss the coolness of attaching this little magic device to my TV and stream games from one end of the house to the other. Using a long HDMI cable or an alternative app does not spark the same joy. If you made it this far, I wanted to thank you one too many Steam Links times for watching today's video. I might no longer use it, but I do have positive memories and I wanted to share my 2 cents on streaming gaming in general, so I took the chance to talk about both topics. Did you have a Steam Link? What's your take on streaming gaming? Let me know down in the comments below. I wish you all a wonderful day, and until next time, arrivederci!